Welcome to the live stream. I am your Heavenly Father, Kevin Williams. We have the full Trump audio, the full hour and 4-minute long phone call that Trump made to Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger of Georgia, trying to convince him to change everything. So we're gonna play that full hour. This is the live stream. This is what we do. We speak and chat truth to power. If you'd like to get in on the chats, we welcome your comments. Chat from whatever platform you're watching this on. It'll go over to the chat window over on that side. We welcome you to be part of the process. I'll be playing the phone call with very few interruptions. We will be commenting on it as necessary. This is brought to you through the use of fair use on YouTube and the other platforms. This remains copyrighted of the Washington Post or whomever owns those copyrights at this point in time. The reporter for the Washington Post has not revealed her source. So we don't know who recorded this phone call. It could have come from the White House. It could have come from the Secretary of State's office in Georgia. The Secretary of State's office has confirmed that this phone call took place. Fox News has not been able to independently verify it. Washington Post has verified it. Like I said, the Secretary of State's office has confirmed that this is the phone call. Through this phone call, I've only heard excerpts of it so far, but during this phone call, Trump bargains. He is angry. He is insulting. He basically goes through all 5 stages of stupid in the matter of an hour. So let's watch this together. Good to see everybody here. Like I said, we welcome your chat. Just chat on whatever platform you're on. Let's see if the audio is working for us.
So, Mr. President, everybody is on the line, and just so this is Mark Meadows, the Chief of Staff, just so we all are aware, on the line is Secretary of State and 2 other individuals, Jordan and Mr. Germany. With him, you also have the attorneys that represent the President, Kurt and Alex, and Cleta Mitchell, who is not the attorney of record but has been involved, myself, and then the President. So, Mr. President, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello, Brad and Ryan and everybody. We appreciate the time and the call.
I'm going to adjust the volume. It seems to be a little bit low for you guys, so I will pump that up. Give me just a second here to make it even louder than it comes in over the audio feed. We'll get that going. So this is on the fly right now. I have not listened to this. This is coming to you live. If you're watching this on replay, it was live.
So we've spent a lot of time on this, and if we could just go over some of the numbers, I think it's pretty clear that we won. We won very substantially, Georgia. You even see it by rally size, frankly. We'd be getting 25,000, 30,000 people a rally, and the competition would get less than 100 people, and it never made sense. But we have a number of things.
Just so you know, rallies do not count in the Electoral College.
We have at least 2 or 3, anywhere from 250 to 300,000 ballots were dropped mysteriously into the rolls. Much of that had to do with Fulton County, which hasn't been checked. We think that if you check the signatures, a real check of the signatures going back in Fulton County, you'll find at least a couple of 100,000 of forged signatures of people with who have been forged. And we are quite sure that's going to happen.
Quick fact check. They have already done signature verifications in parts of Georgia. In Cobb County, they checked 15,000 signatures. They only found 2 questionable signatures. Both of those cases were not fraud. They were spouses signing for their spouse, which is actually commonplace in elections. Those were the only 2 questionable signatures out of 15,000 in Cobb County. So what Trump is saying here has no basis in reality.
Another tremendous number. We're going to have an accurate number over the next 2 days with certified accountants. But an accurate number will be given, but it's in the 50s of thousands. And that's people that went to vote and they were told they can't vote.
I am unsure what 50s of thousands means.
Vote because they've already been voted for. And it's a very sad thing. They walked out complaining, but the number is large. We'll have it for you, but it's much more than the number of 11,779. That's the current margin is only 11,779. Brad, I think you agree with that, right? That's something I think everyone, at least that's a number that everyone agrees on. But that's the difference in the votes. But we've had hundreds of thousands of ballots that we're able to actually, we'll get you a pretty accurate number. You don't need much of a number because the number that in theory I lost by the margin would be 11,779. But you also have substantial numbers of people, thousands and thousands, who went to the voting place on November 3rd, were told they couldn't vote. Were told they couldn't vote because a ballot had been put in on their name. And, that's very, 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 very sad. We had, I believe it's about 4,502 voters who voted, but who weren't on the voter registration list. So it's 4,502 who voted, but they were not on the voter registration roll, which they had to be.
Anybody who voted who was not on the voter registration roll was not counted.
You had 18,325 vacant address voters. The address was vacant, and they're not allowed to be counted. That's 18,325. Smaller number, you had 904.
There's no way they would know that unless they went to the actual ballots and counted not the ballots, but the signature envelopes and counted the addresses on every single signature envelope in Georgia, which to my knowledge has not happened.
Or who only voted.
These are just made up numbers.
Where they had just a PO, a post office box number. And they had a post office box number, and that's not allowed. We had at least 18,000, that's on tape. We had them counted very painstakingly. 18,000 voters having to do with Ruby Freeman. She's a vote scammer, a professional vote scammer and hustler. Ruby Freeman. That was the tape that's been shown all over the world that makes everybody look bad. You, me, and everybody else. Where they got number one, they said very clearly, and it's been reported that they said there was a major water main break. Everybody fled the area, and then they came back. Ruby Freeman, her daughter, and a few people. There were no Republican poll watchers. Actually, there were no Democrat poll watchers. I guess they were them. But there were no Democrats either, and there was no law enforcement.
Just to verify what's going on here, the folks at that point in time thought that they were done, the people who were working there. He's naming this person, I'm not going to say her name, and she had her mom come and work as well. These are employees of the county and the state, just working the election and not doing anything wrong. The right wing has shared media of this one woman counting the ballots multiple times. She was doing exactly what she was supposed to be doing. You count the ballots, and if there's a bad one or two in the batch, you reset the computer and you scan them through again. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. This is what he's talking about. And they have vilified this poor woman and her mother, and they now, of course, receive death threats, etc. So that's what the leader of our country has been doing.
Early in the morning, they went to the table with the black robe, the black shield, and they pulled out.
It was a tablecloth. He's called it a robe. He's called it a dress. He's called it a shield. It's a tablecloth. Our president is one of the strangest human beings on the planet. The judges agree.
The votes. Those votes were put there a number of hours before the table was put there. I think it was, Brad, you would know, it was probably 8 hours or 7 hours before, and then it was stuffed with votes. They weren't in an official...
Not stuffed with votes. Here's what happened. The table was placed there in the morning when they were setting up. It's a table. Then, when they thought that they were done, at about 10 o'clock at night, they packed up the ballots in the ballot containers, put the seals on them, as they're supposed to do, and put them under the table. That's all they were doing. Let's not leave these out on the open floor. Let's just put them under the table. They weren't hiding them from anyone. Remember, this is all on camera. All of this is recorded. We can see exactly what has happened, and the Secretary of State's office, the lead inspector for Georgia, has verified that everything was by the book there. Now, when they were packing up and getting ready to go, they got a phone call saying, "You're not done. You got to keep counting." "Oh, we do?" "Yes, you do." "Well, then are we getting overtime?" "Yes, you are." And so they stayed and counted and pulled those votes back out. Those are not mystery ballots. Everyone knows exactly where those ballots came from.
Voter box. They were in what looked.
Thank you very much, Dr. Layla, for the super chat. I hate to interrupt just for that, but if you do want to donate, you can do that at PayPal, Venmo. Those are right next to me here, kevinleefather.com, and you can super chat on YouTube as well.
Looked to be suitcases or trunks, suitcases, but they weren't.
They're ballot boxes. They're exactly what they should be. They're containers for the ballots designed by the states. These are standard issue.
In voter boxes. The minimum number it could be, because we watched it and they watched it certified in slow motion, instant replay, if you can believe it, but it had slow motion and it was magnified many times over.
It was not instant replay.
And the minimum it was
instant replay would have been as it happened, but okay.
18,000 ballots, all for Biden. You had
those ballots were not all for Biden.
Out-of-state voters. They voted in Georgia, but they were from out of state, of 4,925. You had absentee ballot sent to vacant. They were absentee ballots sent to vacant addresses. They had nothing on them about addresses. That's 2,326.
That's complete nonsense. If it had no address on it, it wouldn't go anywhere.
And you had drop boxes, which was very bad. You had drop boxes that were picked up. We have photographs and we have affidavits from many people. I don't know if you saw the hearings, but you have drop boxes where the box was picked up and not delivered for 3 days. So all sorts of things could have happened to that box, including, putting in the votes that you wanted. So there are many infractions, and the bottom line is many, many times the 11,779 margin that they said we lost by. We had
that margin is accurate. The difference in votes between Biden and Trump right now is 11,779. That has been counted multiple times, and it has been certified. Thank you, judges. So Trump is right.
The state is in turmoil over this, and I know you would like to get to the bottom of it, although I saw you on television today and you said that you found nothing wrong. I didn't lose the state, Fred. People have been saying that it was the highest vote ever. There was no way. A lot of the political people said that there's no way they beat me, and they beat me. They beat me in the poll. As you know, every single state, we won every state. We won every state house in the country. We held the Senate, which is shocking to people.
They did not. They haven't held. They haven't held it. They haven't held the Senate. The vote for the Senate to figure out who's in control of the Senate is going to be on Tuesday in Georgia. Both seats. He should know that.
Although we'll see what happens tomorrow or in a few days. And we won the House, but we won every single state.
They did not win the House. The Democrats won the House.
And we won Congress, which was supposed to lose 15 seats, and they gained, I think, 16 or 17 or something. I think there's now
these numbers are all nonsense. The Democrats won the House again.
A difference of 5. There was supposed to be a difference substantially more. But politicians in every state, but politicians in Georgia have given affidavits and are going to that there was no way they beat me in the election. That the people came out. In fact, they were expecting
an affidavit saying that there's no way that someone beat Trump in the election means absolutely nothing.
To lose, and they ended up winning by a lot because of the coattails. And they said there's no way that they've done many polls prior to the election. There was no way that they won. Ballots were dropped in massive numbers, and we're trying to get to those numbers, and we will have them. They'll take a period of time, certified. But they're massive numbers. And
Just to fact check that, the state's election has already been certified.
Far greater than the 11,779. The other thing, dead people. So dead people voted, and I think the number is in the close to 5,000 people. And they went to obituaries. They went to all sorts of methods to come up with an act.
This has also been fact checked by the Secretary of State at Georgia's office. They've checked the obituaries. They've checked the names that they've been given by the Trump campaign, claiming that these people are dead and they voted. They were not. There's a case of 2 people, and one of whom died before the election but had already voted. And that vote is struck in Atlanta, as I understand, or in Georgia, as I understand it. And another case where I guess someone signed for the person who had already died. I don't know the specifics on that. That happens in every election, but it's nowhere near the 11,780 votes needed to overturn the election.
Accurate number, and a minimum is close to about 5,000 voters. The bottom line is when you add it all up, and then you start adding, 300,000 fake ballots. Then the other thing they said is in Fulton County and other areas, and this may or
there is no evidence whatsoever of fake ballots.
May not be true. This just came up this morning, that they are burning their ballots, that they are shredding ballots and removing equipment. They're changing the equipment on the Dominion machines, and then that's not legal. And they supposedly shredded, I think they said 3,000 pounds of ballots, and that just came to us as a report today. And
he's talking about Cobb County, and they were not shredding ballots. In fact, the other day there was a hearing where a lady from Cobb County who had made a viral video had videotaped these ballots being shredded. Even a Republican state senator pointed out, those are not ballots on your video. Those are envelopes for ballots. The ballots have markings around them. You can tell what they are. You can see on the video, they could see when they were sitting there. A Republican state senator could see that the envelopes said ballots must be inserted. They were not ballots that were being shredded.
It's a very sad situation. But Brad, if you took the minimum number...
Brad, he's referring to, is the Secretary of State. You can see him on the left of your screen. Brad Roethlisberger of Georgia, the Secretary of State of Georgia.
We're many, many times above the 11,779, and many of those...
I hate to interrupt for a comment, but Bible Addict, no evidence has been shown in court. Upwards of 88 judges, including Trump appointees, including 3 Supreme Court justices, have seen this evidence and have dismissed it outright because it's all nonsense, all of it.
Those numbers are certified, or they will be certified, but they are certified. Those are numbers that are there, that exist.
Ballots and election materials in Georgia must be kept for a period of 2 years if they are utilized. Here's what happened in Georgia. They were going to have a special election in December, right after the November election, for other purposes. Now, what happened is in Cobb County is they said, why are we doing this December election when now we have to do the special Senate runoff election in January? Let's get rid of this local election. And so all of those materials, they were shredded because they were never used. That saves the taxpayers a lot of money. And you don't want all those addresses on the envelopes and everything getting out there at any point. So you shred them. That's what you do. That's what the lady saw. No ballots.
And that beat the margin of loss. They beat it, by a lot. And people should be happy to have an accurate count instead of an election where there's turmoil. There's turmoil in Georgia and other places. You're not the only one. We have other states that I believe will be flipping to us very shortly. And but this is something that's, as an example, I think in Detroit, and I think there's a good section of your state, actually, which we're not sure, so we're not going to report it yet. But in Detroit, we had 139% of the people voted. That's not too good.
And absolutely false. That is absolutely not what happened.
In Pennsylvania, they had well over 200,000 more votes than they had people voting.
Absolutely not true. That is an internet meme that started because somebody read the number from the primaries. We know that more than 3 million ballots, we have that exact number, were sent out in Pennsylvania. If you read anything to the contrary, I can show you the Secretary of State in Pennsylvania saying before the election that they sent out exactly this number of ballots. They know those numbers, and those are on the website. Those can be found. But again, these are people in the right-wing bubble, so they don't worry about facts.
And that doesn't play too well. And the legislature there which is Republican, is extremely activist and angry. But I mean, there were other things also that were almost as bad as that. But they had, as an example, in Michigan, a tremendous number of dead people that voted. I think, Mark, it was 18,000.
It was not.
Some unbelievably high number, much higher than yours.
Yes, it's unbelievable. The number is unbelievable. Trump is correct. I'm fair.
You were in the 4,000 to 5,000 category, and that was checked out laboriously by going through by going through the obituary columns in the newspapers.
Yeah.
So
obituary columns in newspapers are not even really a thing anymore. So no.
I guess with all of it being said, Brett, it's the bottom line. And provisional ballots, again, you'll have to tell me about the provisional ballots, but we have a lot of people that were complaining that they weren't able to vote because they were already voted for. And these are great people. And, they were shell-shocked. I don't know if you call that provisional ballots. In some states, we had a lot of provisional ballot situations where people were given a provisional ballot because when they walked in on November 3rd, they were already voted for. So that's it. I mean, we have many.
That sentence, what he's saying there makes no sense. I can explain it, though. I will translate it for you. He's saying that people were walking in when they had already voted for. He just didn't finish the sentence. That an absentee ballot had already been turned in their name. Some people decided they would go and vote anyway because Trump had told them, once you vote, go in and vote again.
Many times the number of votes necessary to win the state, and we won the state, and we won it very substantially and easily, and we have much of this.
It's 2 months after the election, and he's calling the Secretary of State, begging for him to find some votes. That is not the definition of easy.
This is they're certified. Far more certified than we need, but we're getting additional numbers certified too, and we're getting pictures of drop boxes being delivered and delivered late, and delivered 3 days later in some cases. Plus, we have many affidavits to that effect.
So, Mr. President, if I might be able to jump in, and I'll give Brad a chance, Mr. Secretary. Obviously there are allegations where we believe that not every vote or fair vote and legal vote was counted.
If you're just joining us, this is Mark Meadow. He is the chief of staff, the right-hand man to President Trump. He's an employee of the White House.
And that's at odds with the representation from the Secretary of State's office. What I'm hopeful for is there some way that we can find some kind of an agreement to look at this a little bit more fully. The president mentioned Fulton County, but in some of these areas where there seems to be a difference of where the facts seem to lead. And so, Mr. Secretary, I was hopeful that, in a spirit of cooperation and compromises, there's something that we can at least have a discussion to look at some of these allegations to find a path forward that's less litigious.
Well, compromise is something that you don't do in an election. There are hard and fast rules. That's how a democracy must function.
I've listened to what the president has just said. President Trump we've had several lawsuits, and we've had to respond in court to the lawsuits and the contentions. We don't agree that you have one. I didn't agree about the 200,000 number that you mentioned, and I could go through that point by point. What we had done is we gave our state senate about 1.5 hours of our time going through the election issue by issue, and then on the state house, the government affairs committee, we gave them about 2.5 hours of our time, going back point by point on all the issues of contention. And then just a few days ago, we met with our U.S. congressman, Republican congressman, and we gave them about 2 hours of our time talking about this past election. Going back, primarily what you've talked about here, focused in on primarily, I believe, is the absentee ballot process. I don't believe that you're really questioning the Dominion machines, because we did a hand retally, a 100% retally of all the ballots, and compared that to what the machine said, and it came up with virtually the same result. Then we did the recount.
Yeah, what he's saying there is that Georgia has counted a hand ballot recount and a machine counting recount, and it all matches up. It's all copacetic, and they have done signature verifications in areas of the state, and everything has checked out almost perfect.
Virtually the same result. So I guess we could probably take that off the table. I don't think there's an issue about that. I think what you were
Brad, not that there's not an issue, but because we have a big issue with Dominion, and
there is not an issue, Mr. President.
Other states, and perhaps in yours, but we haven't felt we needed to go there. And just to maybe put a little different spin on what Mark is saying, Mark Meadows. We'd like to go further, but we don't really need to. We have all the votes we need. We won the state. If you took, these are the most minimal numbers, the numbers that I gave you. Those are numbers that are certified, your absentee ballots sent to vacant addresses, your out-of-state voters.
These numbers are not certified. There's no certification of the made-up numbers he's talking about.
4,925. When you add them up, it's many times the 11,779 number. So we could go through. We have not gone through your Dominion, so we can't give them blessing. I mean, in other states, we think we found tremendous corruption with Dominion machines, but we'll have to see. But we only lost the state by that number, 11,000 votes, and 779. So, with that being said, with just what we have, and with just what we have, we're giving you minimal numbers. We're doing the most conservative numbers possible. We're many times above the margin. And so we don't really have to, Mark. I don't think we have to go through machines because what's the difference between winning the election by two votes and winning it by 500,000 votes? I think we probably did win it by 500,000. One of the things that happened, Brad, is we have other people coming in now from Alabama and from South Carolina and from other states. And they're saying it's impossible for you to have lost Georgia.
Right.
We won. In Alabama, we set a record, got the highest vote ever. In Georgia, we set a record with a massive amount of votes. And they say it's not possible to have lost Georgia. And I could tell you by our rallies. I could tell you by the rallies.
If I'm understanding correctly, all of what he's saying right now doesn't matter. Alabama has nothing to do with the Georgia election. It has absolutely no bearing on things whatsoever, but he's going to brag about his attendance at rallies in Alabama. I can see it looks like the Twitter feed, the comments from Twitter are not coming through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up a separate window for the comments from Twitter and Periscope. I'll put it up there. Back to the phone call.
Rally I'm having on Monday night, the place they already have lines of people standing out front waiting. It's just not possible to have lost Georgia. It's not possible. When I heard it was close, I said, there's no way. But they dropped a lot of votes in there late at night. You know that, Brett. And that's what we are working on very, very stringently. But regardless of those votes, with all of it being said, we lost by essentially 11,000 votes. And we have many more votes already calculated and certified to. So I just don't know, Mark, I don't know what's the purpose. I won't give Dominion a pass because we found too many bad things, but we don't need Dominion or anything else. We have won this election in Georgia based on all of this. And there's nothing wrong with saying that, Brad. Having a correct, the people of Georgia are angry. And these numbers are going to be repeated on Monday night, along with others that we're going to have by that time, which are much more substantial even. And the people of Georgia are angry. The people of the country are angry. And there's nothing wrong with saying that, that you've recalculated, because the 2,236 and absentee ballots, they're all exact numbers that were done by accounting firms, law firms, etc. And even if you cut them in half, and cut them in half again, it's more votes than we need.
Well, Mr. President, the challenge that you have is the data you have is wrong. We talked to the congressmen, and they were surprised, but I guess there was a person named Mr. Raynard that came to these meetings and presented data. And he said that there was dead people, I believe it was upward of 5,000. The actual number were two people that were dead that voted. And so that's wrong. That was two.
Well, Cleta, how do you respond to that? You tell me.
Well, I will say, Mr. Secretary, one of the things that we have requested, and what we said was, and if you read our petition, it said that we took the names and birth years, and we had certain information available to us. We have asked from your office for records that only you have. And so we said there's a universe of people who have the same name and same birth year and died, but we don't have the records that you have. And one of the things that we have been suggesting formally and informally for weeks now is for you to make available to us the records that would be necessary to confirm.
But Cleta, even before you do that, and not even including that, that's why I hardly even included that number, although in one state we have a tremendous amount of dead people.
I hardly even included that number? He said the number! I don't know how. And the dead people, it's got to be 45. If you mumble it, then it's just hardly including it. So what we've got right now, folks, is a situation. This is, if you just joined us, this is the president. The Washington Post has the full audio of the phone call he made with Mark Meadow, his chief of staff, to Brad Raffensperger, who is the Secretary of State of Georgia. Trump is pleading and insulting and insinuating he wants 11,000 and some votes in order to win Georgia. You can imagine that he's already done this or will do this with the other states as well. This is just a glimpse into what's going on. We currently have two chat windows up there. One of them is Twitter and Periscope. That is the one directly above where it says PayPal over to my right. And then the far chat room in blue, that is YouTube chat. The best place to chat is youtube.com/KevinLeeFather. That's where you'll find that chat window. That's about a 4-second delay. Periscope right now is a little bit longer than that, probably about 10 seconds. So both are in good shape. So I apologize that everything's not going into the same chat room. Such is life. I do not own the software.
People, so I don't know. I'm sure.
I blame Dominion.
We do in Georgia too. I'm sure we do in Georgia too. But is that we're so far ahead. We're so far ahead of these numbers. Even the phony ballots of known scammer. The internet.
Sorry, that was the recording, not me.
You know what was trending on the internet? Where's because they thought you'd be in jail.
Okay, so they're beeping out, and I apologize, that's blasting my ears. I hope it isn't blasting yours. They're beeping out the name of somebody, and I'm not sure why, but, I'm trying to do technical things, and I apologize. So turn your speakers down. I want to go back. I want to hear that. Let's see if I can go back just slightly. We're at 2123 right now. And yeah, we're going to go back to 2108 and turn your speakers down or take out your headphones or something for just a minute here so I can figure out whom they're speaking of.
We're so far ahead of these numbers. Even the phony ballots of known scammer. You know the internet? You know what was trending on the internet? Where's because they thought you'd be in jail. Where's
Okay, so he may be referring to the individual who's a county employee, an elections employee, could be a state employee, that they're accusing on the internet of rigging this election. When video is available of her doing exactly what she was supposed to do. So they mentioned her name at the beginning of the broadcast. They've beeped her name out now. I don't know if that's exactly to whom they're referring, but that's what's going on. That's why they're beeping out that name, which is good, because this person is completely innocent. Everything she did or he did was examined by the Secretary of State's office in Georgia, and it's clean. Okay, sorry.
It's crazy. It's crazy. That was the minimum number is 18,000, but they think it's probably about 56,000. But the minimum number is 18,000 on the night where she ran back in there when everybody was gone and stuffed. She stuffed the ballot boxes. Let's face it, Brad. I mean, they did it in slow motion replay, magnified, right? She stuffed the ballot boxes. They were stuffed like nobody's ever seen them stuffed before. So there's a term for it when it's a machine instead of a ballot box. But she stuffed the machine. She stuffed the ballot. Each ballot went 3 times. They were showing, here's ballot number 1. Here it is a second time, third time, next ballot. I mean, look, Brett, this is we have a new tape that we're going to release. It's devastating. And by the way, that one event is much more than the 11,000 votes that we're talking about. It's that one event was a disaster. It's just but it was something that it can't be disputed. And again, we have a version that you haven't seen, but it's magnified. It's magnified, and you can see everything. And she put, for some reason, they put it in 3 times each ballot, and I don't know why, but. Why? I don't know why 3 times. Why not 5 times, right? But
no, that's just fine. That's what you're supposed to do. If there's ballots in the batch that won't scan, you straighten out the paper. It's like I'm straightening out this paper right here. You straighten out that pile just like you would if you were putting paper into a printer. You hit reset. You hit discard. That's the specific term in the Dominion software. And you scan the entire batch again. That is exactly what they should be doing. She did her job, and now she's the villain to the entire right wing right now, and it's disgusting. This is just an American trying to do her job and help us out with an election. And the president of the United States is attacking her.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're talking about the State Farm video, and I think it's extremely unfortunate that Rudy Giuliani or his people, they sliced and diced that video and took it out of context. So the next day we brought in WSB TV and we let them see the full run of tape.
Yep.
And what you'll see, the events that transpired are nowhere near what was projected by.
But where were the poll watchers, Brad? There were no poll watchers there. There were no Democrats or Republicans. There was no security there. It was late in the evening, early in the morning. And there was nobody else in the room. Where were the poll watchers? And why did they say a water main broke, which they did, and which is reported in the newspapers? They said they left, they ran out because of a water main break, and there was no water main. There was nothing. There was no break. There was no water main break. But if you take out everything, where were the Republican poll watchers? Even where were the Democrat poll watchers? Because there were none. And then you say, well, they left their station. If you look at the tape, and this was reviewed by professional police and detectives and other people. When they left in a rush, everybody left in a rush because of the water main, but everybody left in a rush. These people left their station. When they came back, they didn't go to their station. They went to the apron wrapped around the table under which were thousands and thousands of...
He got it right. He called it a table apron. Wow. Okay, things are getting better. 2021, everybody. Woo!
In a box that was not an official or a sealed box.
It was an official and it was a sealed box.
And then they took those and they went back to a different station. So if they would have come back, they would have walked to their station and they would have continued to work. But they couldn't do even that because that's illegal because they had no Republican poll watchers.
It's not illegal to work in an election if there's not a poll worker present, a poll watcher present, excuse me. Poll watchers are permitted, but all they can do is observe. They can't even ask questions. They can't challenge. They're permitted, but they're not required. That's not how this works at all.
And remember, her reputation is devastating. She's known all over the internet, Brett. She's known all over. I'm telling you, where was one of the hot items on the. They knew her. Where's. So, Brad, you know, this.
If you're just joining us, that's not me. That's the Washington Post editing out the lady's name, who at this point appears to be completely innocent, appears to have done her job as she should have.
There can be no justification for that. And I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. But that was, and Brad, why did they put the votes in 3 times? You know, they put them in 3 times.
Mr. President, they did not put that. We did an audit of that, and we proved conclusively that they were not scanned 3 times.
Well, where was everybody else at that late time in the morning? Where was everybody? Where were the Republicans? Where were the security guards? Where were the people that were there just a little while before?
What do security guards have to do with anything?
Everyone ran out of the room. How come we had no security in the room? Why did they run to the bottom of the table? Why did they run there and just open the skirt and rip out the votes? I mean, Brad, and they were sitting there, I think for 5 hours or something like that, the votes. But they just all happened to run back and go, you know, Brad. Come on.
Yeah, Mr. President, we'll send you the link from WSB that does.
I don't care about a link. I don't need it. I have Brad, I have a bunch.
We'll send you the evidence. I don't care about the evidence. I don't want to see any evidence. If there's folks in here who haven't seen the link that he's talking about, where his TV station is invited and they go with the Secretary of State's investigators, go through piece by piece, frame by frame in the video, and they explain exactly what happened and how everything was fine. If you haven't seen that and you want to see that, we can watch that after this, so stay tuned for that. I'll watch for people asking. I do not know why the Twitter feed is not refreshing. I'm clicking new messages all the time. If anyone knows how I can stop that, let me know.
Much better.
Secretary, I will tell you, I've seen the tape, the full tape. So has Alex. We've watched it. And what we saw and what we've confirmed in the timing is that they made everybody leave. We have sworn affidavits saying that, and then they began to process ballots. And our estimate is that there were roughly 18,000 ballots. We don't know that. If you know that,
it was 18,000 ballots, but they used each one 3 times.
Well, so I don't know about that, but I know.
Well, I do because we had ours magnified out. So each one magnified out is.
I've watched the entire thing.
But you know. But nobody can make a case.
Okay, I don't know about that is exactly the wrong thing to say to the president right now. That is absolutely wrong. That you should have stood your ground. Sir, I have watched the tape. There was no fraud taking place on the tape. I've done research on this, and I know exactly what happened, and it all makes sense. Trump is confused because his version of things doesn't make sense. Oh, and also, he's an idiot.
For that, Brett. Nobody. I mean, look, you'd have to be a child to think anything other than that. Just a child. I mean, you never Trump or U.S. attorney
how
there.
How many ballots, Mr. Secretary, are you saying that were processed in?
We had GPI thoroughly investigate that.
This is Ryan Germany. We had our law enforcement officers talk to everyone who was there after that event came to light. The GBI was with them as well as FBI agents.
Well, there's no way they could. Then they're incompetent. They're either dishonest or incompetent. Okay,
okay, so the FBI investigated it, and they must be incompetent. Okay, You know how Trump, how he loves the men and the women of the FBI. It's only the top. It's only the top that are part of the deep state. Oh, and also these guys. Also these workaday FBI agents, incompetent.
Only two answers: dishonesty or incompetence. There's just no way. Look, there's no way. And on the other thing I said too, there's no way. I mean, there's no way that these things could have been.
This man is just a pathetic human being. There's just no other word. Well, loser, but pathetic. Really, I mean, if I didn't hate him so much because of what he's done to our magnificent country, to our great democracy, if I didn't hate the man on a visceral level, I would feel sorry for him right now. I would take pity on him. He's not all there. And it must be so frustrating for him.
You know, you have all these different people that voted, but they don't live in Georgia anymore. What was that number, Clay? That was a pretty good number, too. Yeah.
Well, the number who had registered out of state after they moved from Georgia. And so they had a date when they moved from Georgia. They registered to vote out of state, and then it's like 4,500. I don't have that right in front of me.
And then they came back in and they voted.
And voted. Yeah.
No, that was a large number, though. It was in the 20s.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's completely legal. After you leave a state, you're allowed to vote in that state, depending on the state, for an amount of time. Plus, if you're military, you can be out of the state, or if you're just going to be out of the state, you can register absentee and vote out of state. That's fine.
And, you know, the point
We've
is...
been going through each of those as well, and those numbers that we got, that Ms. Mitchell was just saying, they're not accurate. Everyone we've been through are people that lived in Georgia, moved to a different state, but then moved back to Georgia legitimately. And in many cases...
Really? How many people do that? You mean they moved out and then they said, the hell with it, I'll move back in? You know, it doesn't sound like a very...
People move for work all the time. Plus, during this time of COVID, people leave and then come back. That's what I did it. I did it myself. I was living in California. Things went to pot. I moved to Seattle for 3 or 4 months, and then I moved back to California. I did exactly what the president's saying is never happens.
Normal. You mean they moved out?
Yes.
And what, they missed it so much that they wanted to move back in?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well,
essentially, yeah.
They moved back in years ago. This was not like something just before the election. So there's something about that data that it's just not accurate.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, the data is for anybody who has ever registered in another state and then come back. And during, of course, the time of COVID, many people returned to their home to be with family or be near family to try and support their family. This is not unusual.
I mean, all I know is that it is certified, and they moved out of Georgia.
What Trump is saying is not certified. There's no certification to it whatsoever.
And they voted. It didn't say they moved back in, Clayton, did it?
Yeah.
No, but I mean, we're looking at the voter registry. Again, if you have additional records, we've been asking for that. But you haven't shared any of that with us. You just keep saying you've been...
But a lot of it you don't need to be shared. I mean, to be honest, they should share it. They should share it because you want to get to an honest election. I won this election by hundreds of thousands of votes. There's no way I lost Georgia. There's no way. We won by hundreds of thousands of votes. I'm just going by small numbers. When you add them up, they're many times the 11,000. But I won that state by hundreds of thousands of votes. Now, do you think it's possible that they shredded ballots in Fulton County? Because that's what the rumor is. And also that Dominion took out machines. That Dominion is really moving fast to get rid of their machinery. Do you know anything about that? Because that's illegal.
This is Ryan Germany. No, Dominion has not moved any machinery out of Fulton County. We're having.
Well, but have they moved? Have they moved the inner parts of the machines and replaced them with other parts?
No.
You sure, Ryan?
I'm sure. I'm sure, Mr. President.
And what about the ballots? The shredding of the ballots. Have they been shredding ballots?
No. The only investigation that we have into that, they have not been.
That's just sad. No, Mr. President, no. Are you sure, Brian? I don't know who he's talking to. Maybe it's Ryan Germany. I don't know.
shredding any ballots. There was an issue in Cobb County where they were doing
Are you sure?
normal, office shredding, getting rid of old stuff, and we investigated that. But this is stuff from, past elections.
No, I don't know.
And that's what
it doesn't pass.
That's how you want to press your case. I don't know. I don't know about that.
The smell test, though, because we hear they're shredding thousands and thousands of ballots. And now what they're saying, we're just cleaning
Literally, that's what hearsay is.
up the office. I don't think that's
Yeah. Right.
Mr. President, the problem you have with social media, people can say anything.
No, this isn't social media. This is Trump media. It's not social media. It's really not. It's not social media. I don't care about social. But I couldn't care less. Social media is big tech. Big tech is on your side. I don't even know why you have a side, because you should want to have an accurate election. And you're a Republican.
We believe that we do have an accurate election.
It's not social media. It's Trump media. The man is insane. We need to enact the 25th Amendment right now. And probably the 26th, the 27th. Some people are saying as high as the 28th.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't have, not even close. You're off by hundreds of thousands of votes, and just on the small numbers, you're off on these numbers.
Wow.
And these numbers can't be judged. Well, okay, so you send us into Cobb County for signature verification, right? You send us into Cobb County, which we didn't want to go into, and you said it would be open to the public and we could have so we had our experts there. They weren't allowed into the room. But we didn't want Cobb County. We wanted Fulton County, and you wouldn't give it to us. Now, why aren't we doing signature, and why can't it be open to the public, and why can't we have professionals do it instead of rank amateurs that will never find anything and don't want to find anything? They don't want to find. They don't want to find anything. Someday you'll tell me the reason why, because I don't understand your reasoning. But someday you'll tell me the reason why. But why don't you want to find?
What?
Why don't you want to find? What?
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, so why did you do Cobb County? We didn't even we requested Fulton County, not Cobb County.
Well, Mr. President, we did have our
Cobb
election
County.
contest.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
We chose Cobb County because that was the only county where there's been any evidence submitted that a signature verification was not properly done.
Well, no, but I told you, but we're not saying that. We did say that. We're the aggrieved party. Fulton County, look.
They did. They alleged that in one of the lawsuits. But okay, but you know what? Maybe that's part of the evidence that they shouldn't have shared.
Stacey, in my opinion, Stacey is as dishonest as they come. She has outplayed you at every heart, at everything. She got you to sign.
He's talking about Stacey Abrams, who is a Democratic, currently vote registering person. Stacey Abrams ran for governor in the last election in Georgia, in the last gubernatorial election, and lost barely, but she accepted the results of that election. She has been registering Democrats and minorities ever since. A lot of people give her credit for turning Georgia blue. However, Georgia is not blue. All of the state offices that were statewide races were won by Republicans, all of them. But Biden beat Trump because Trump is so bad, as we're seeing in this phone call. Now, if you watch Trump media, you would know that.
A totally unconstitutional agreement, which is a disastrous agreement. You can't check signatures. You can't do it. I can't imagine you're allowed to do harvesting, I guess, in that agreement. That agreement is a disaster for this country. But
none of what he just said is true in the consent agreement.
She got you somehow to sign that thing, and she's outsmarted you at every step. And I hate to imagine what's going to happen on Monday or Tuesday, but it's very scary to people, where the ballots flow in out of nowhere. It's very scary to people. That consent decree is a disaster. It's a disaster. A very good lawyer who examined it said they've never seen anything like it. And
never has any names of these very good lawyers.
Harvesting is still illegal in the state of Georgia, and that settlement agreement did not change that.
Well, it's not a settlement agreement. It's a consent decree. It even says consent decree on it, doesn't it? It uses
Which is a settlement agreement.
the term.
They signed a consent decree saying this is the way things are going to be as a settlement. Kids, I'm about get the beeper ready here because this man is a beeping moron. Okay?
Consent decree. It doesn't say settlement agreement. It's a consent decree. It's a disaster.
It's a settlement agreement.
What's written on top of it?
Ryan?
I don't have it in front of me, but it was not entered by the court. It's not a court order.
No, it's called. But Ryan, it's called a consent decree. Is that right on the paper? Is that right?
I don't believe so. But I don't have it in front of me.
Okay. Whatever. It's a disaster. It's a disaster. Look, here's the problem. We can go through signature verification, and we'll find hundreds of thousands of signatures if you let us do it. And the only way you can do it, as you know, is to go to the past. But you didn't do that in Cobb County. You just looked at one page compared to another. The only way you can do a signature verification is go from the one that signed it on November whatever, recently, and compare it to 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 6 years ago, or even one. And you'll find that you have many different signatures. But in Fulton, where they dumped ballots, you will find that you have many that aren't even signed, and you have many that are forgeries. Okay? You know that. You know that. You have no doubt about that. And you will find you will be at 11,779 within minutes, because Fulton County is totally corrupt, and so is she totally corrupt. And they're going around playing.
I'm going to interrupt for a second here. Sorry that the Twitter chat room has gone away for a minute, but I'm researching. The top of the consent decree reads Compromise, Settlement, Agreement, and Release. It's a consent decree that is part of the settlement. So Trump, again, is wrong. He's always wrong.
Playing you and laughing at you behind your back, Brad. Whether you know it or not, they're laughing at you. And you've taken a state that's a Republican state, and you've made it almost impossible for a Republican to win because of cheating. Because they cheated like nobody's ever cheated before.
Every statewide race that was Republican, a Republican has won except the Senate seats yet. And they may end up winning, which will be everyone, all of the statewide seats except the president. And someone, I wish somebody would explain that to him, because that's going to make him the biggest loser. So how much does he really want to endorse Kelly and David?
And I don't care how long it takes me. We're going to have other states coming forward pretty good. But I won't. This is never given. We have some incredible talent. Said they've never seen anything. Now the problem is they need more time for the big numbers, but they are very substantial numbers. And I think you're going to find that they. By the way, a little information. I think you're going to find that they are shredding ballots because they have to get rid of the ballots because the ballots are unsigned. The ballots are.
You don't sign ballots. There's no signature on the ballots. The guy's how did he end up in charge, people? And I'm talking to you, 74 million Americans who voted for him a second time. The man is a complete buffoon.
Corrupt.
Yes, and corrupt.
New, and they don't have seals, and there's a whole thing with the ballots, but the ballots are corrupt, and you're going to find that they are, which is totally illegal. It's more illegal for you than it is for them.
And fantastical.
Because you know what they did and you're not reporting it.
Okay, so now he's threatening the Secretary of State of Georgia.
That's a criminal offense. And you can't let that happen. That's a big risk to you and to Ryan, your lawyers. That's a big risk. But they are shredding ballots, in my opinion, based on what I've heard. And they are.
Oh, it's his opinion based on what he's heard. Okay, well then, yeah, Roethlisberger's going to jail.
Removing machinery, and they're moving it as fast as they can. Both of which.
No, you don't sign your ballot. You sign the outer envelope, the security envelope. You do not sign your ballot.
your criminal fines, and you can't let it happen, and you are letting it happen. You know, I mean, I'm notifying you that you're letting it happen. So
just let me clarify this, folks. In the United States, we have a secret ballot process. You don't sign your actual ballot. The thing you fill out, I had a ballot around here somewhere. You know what? I sent so many ballots in to vote. I voted in every state, so I can't find it right now. But you don't sign the actual ballot. You sign the outer envelope or the security envelope, depending on which state you live. No, in Georgia, you do not sign your ballot.
look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state, and flipping the state is a great testament to our country, because, you know, there's just it's a testament that they can admit to a mistake, or whatever you want to call it, if it was a mistake. I don't know. A lot of people think it wasn't a mistake. It was much more criminal.
No, I know exactly what he's trying to say. He's trying to say that the ballots were corrupt, but the ballots are not signed. In fact, one of their key witnesses, you guys all remember Melissa Clarone? She's the drunk blonde lady in Michigan, and she claims that people were filling out ballots in the TCF or the TFC Center. I forget now, the Detroit Stadium. TCF. I used to bank with them too. I should know that. That they were filling out the ballots and then signing the ballots in not their own name. There's nowhere to sign on the ballots. They were just taking disputed ballots or ballots that couldn't be read in the machine and filling out new clean ballots as they're supposed to do, which are then verified by another party and then put them through a machine. They weren't signing ballots anywhere. There's nowhere to sign on them.
Criminal than that. But it's a big problem in Georgia, and it's not a problem that's going away. I mean, you know, it's not a problem that's going away. And we got to...
President, this is Ryan. We're looking into every one of those things that you mentioned.
This is Ryan Germany. He's the attorney, I believe, for Brad Roethlisberger. Probably the attorney for the Secretary of State's office. I don't know that for sure, but he is an attorney.
But if you find him, you got to say it, Ryan. Look, if they're... Let me ask you, Ryan, if they're destroying ballots...
Let me tell you what we are seeing.
Go ahead.
What we're seeing is not at all what you're describing. Okay. And these are investigators from our office. These are investigators from GBI. And they're looking, and they're good, and that's not what they're seeing. And we'll keep looking. We'll keep looking at all these things.
Well, you better check on the ballots, because they are shredding ballots, Ryan. I'm just telling you, Ryan. They're shredding ballots, and you should look at that very carefully, because that's so illegal. You know, you may not even believe it because it's so bad, but they're shredding ballots because they think we're going to eventually get there, because we'll eventually get into Fulton. It's, in my opinion, it's never too late. So, little double sound act. So that's the story, fellas. Look, we need only 11,000 votes. We have far more than that as it stands now. We'll have more and more.
Another one of these today. I wanted to.
And do you have provisional ballots at all, Brad?
The release that went out from the Trump campaign this afternoon with the subject.
Sorry, folks. I've got one of the websites that I have open is
irregularities and
hold on.
fraud. Saying he was correct to raise these concerns that favored Biden-Harris, specifically noting the issue in Floyd County and also taking aim at Georgia's consent decree, saying that it may...
Okay, I got it. Sorry, that's, you know how websites, browser windows will suddenly start playing something? That was that. Let me pull up the chat window again. I apologize for that, guys, although I certainly don't control it. And let's move.
Provisional ballots?
Provisional ballots are allowed, by state law.
Sure. But do you have them? I mean, are they counted, or did you just hold them back because they, in other words, how many provisional ballots do you have in the state?
We'll get you that number.
Because most of them are made out to the name Trump, because these are people that were scammed when they came in. And we have thousands of people that have testified or that want to testify. When they came in, They were proudly going to vote on November 3rd, and they were told, I'm sorry, you've already been voted for, you've already voted. The women, men started screaming, no, I proudly voted till November 3rd. They said, I'm sorry, but you already been voted for.
None of that was English. Just listen to his words here and how little he actually makes sense. Just listen to the sentence structure.
Ballots are allowed, by state law.
Sure, but do you have them? I mean, are they counted, or did you just hold them back because they, in other words, how many provisional ballots do you have in the state?
We'll get you that number.
Because most of them are made out to the name Trump, because these are people that were scammed when they came in, and we have thousands of people that have testified or that want to testify. When they came in, they were proudly going to vote on November 3rd, and they were told, I'm sorry, you've already been voted for, you've already voted. The women, men started screaming, no, I proudly voted till November 3rd. They said, I'm sorry, but you already been voted for, and you have a ballot. And these people are beside themselves. So they went out and they filled in a provisional ballot, putting the name Trump on it. And what about that batch of military ballots that came in? And even though I won the military by a lot, it was 100% Trump. Do you know? I mean, 100% Biden. Do you know about that? A large group of ballots came in. I think it was to Fulton County, and they just happened to be 100% for Trump, even though for Biden, even though Trump won the military by a lot.
You are Trump. Amount. You are Trump, so you can just say I.
But these ballots were 100% for Biden. And you know about that? A very substantial number came in, all for Biden. Does anybody know about it?
I know about it, and no, not all of those votes were for Biden. But yes, there are batches that come in and are very heavily Biden, and we often don't know whether those batches are military batches or not. Again, these are affidavits from people, poll watchers, who aren't really sure. And sometimes there are people that actually work at the polls who aren't really sure where these ballots are coming from because they're not in the chain of command. Their job is just to add them up or run them through a machine. They don't understand something, so it must be fraud.
I know about it, but we were never.
Okay, Cleta, wait. I'm not asking you, Cleta, honestly. I'm asking Brad. Do you know about the military ballots that we have confirmed now? Do you know about the military ballots that came in that were 100%? I mean, 100% for Biden. Do you know about that?
And I don't know about that. I do know that we have when military ballots come in, it's not just military. It's also military and overseas citizens. The military part of that does generally go Republican. The overseas citizen part of it generally goes very Democrat.
No, but this was
a mix of them.
Yeah, that's okay. But I got like 78% in the military. These ballots were all for this. They didn't tell me overseas. Could be overseas too, but I get votes overseas too, Ryan. In all fairness. No, they came in. A large batch came in, and it was quote 100% for Biden, and that is criminal. That's criminal. Okay, that's another criminal. That's another of the many criminal events. Many criminal events here. I don't know. Look, Brad, I have to find 12,000 votes, and I have them times a lot, and therefore I won the state. That's before we go to the next step, which is in the process of right now. And I watched you this morning, and you said, well, there was no criminality, but I mean, all of this stuff is very dangerous stuff. When you talk about no criminality, I think it's very dangerous for you to say that. I just don't know why you don't want to have the votes counted as they are. Like even you, when you went and did that check, and I was surprised because I didn't consider the check, and we found a few thousand.
He thinks that Brad Raffensperger, the Secretary of State of Georgia, who is a Republican, wants the votes counted a certain way. The votes are the votes. I'm not sure who Cleta is exactly. If someone can do a little research on that and let me know, that would be great. It sounds like she's that Brad Raffensperger, being the Secretary of State, might be her supervisor. She could be an attorney with the Secretary of State. I don't know. This is the first time I experienced her. But I didn't. I took that as Trump just saying, I want to talk to the guy in charge, not necessarily as being a chauvinist. I am not defending President Trump. He should have let the person, because often it's the underlings that know what the hell is going on. Trump has no idea what happens underneath him.
Votes that were against me. I was actually surprised because the way that check was done, all you're doing is recertifying existing votes, and you were given votes and you just counted them up, and you still found 3,000 that were bad. That was sort of surprising. That came down 3 or 5. I don't know. Still a lot of votes, but But you have to go back to check from past years with respect to signatures. And if you check with Fulton County, you'll have hundreds of thousands because they dumped ballots into Fulton County and the other county next to it.
When the votes come in, first off, the ballots don't have signatures. We've established that. Secondly, the votes in, it's really easy to do because you have the envelopes with the signatures and you have the people who signed in. All of that is kept track of. If there were fake ballots coming in, ballots that no one could account for, that number of the signature envelopes and the number of people who are signed in on the poll pads, that's when you go and you vote in person, and they sign you in on an iPad unit, on a tablet, let's say, that number would not match. But the number matches. So there's not thousands of ballots that came in out of thin air. This is all very easily verifiable things. One moment, folks. David is here. He said first, so congratulations, David, on being first. It's just a thing we do if you watch the live stream. By the way, if you're watching us for the first time, go ahead and subscribe, youtube.com/KevinLeeFather. We will be covering all of this as the election moves forward. I am not a Democrat. I am not a Republican. I am an independent. I did not vote for Hillary Clinton, but I would never vote for President Trump because, as we've seen here, the man is insane.
So what are we going to do here, folks? I only need 11,000 votes. Fellas, I need 11,000 votes. Give me a break. We have that in spades already, or we can keep it going. But that's not fair to the voters of Georgia because they're going to see what happened. And they're going to see what happened. I mean, I'll take on anybody you want with regard to and her lovely daughter. A very lovely young lady, I'm sure.
Okay, again, he's attacking the poll worker and mentioning her by name, which is why it was beeped out. If you just joined us, Washington Post has beeped out that person's name because all evidence points to her being completely innocent in this, and the right wing has absolutely vilified this African-American woman and her daughter. When the videotape shows she was doing exactly what she wanted to do, exactly as she was supposed to be doing. And Chris from Nebraska, no evidence of fraud has been presented. Well, we keep asking for it. I keep waiting. In fact, in Nevada, the lawyer for the Trump campaign argued the evidence was heard, and they also submitted to the judge 20 binders full of evidence of fraud. But they didn't release that to the public. We have no idea what's in those binders. The judge looked at that and said, there's absolutely no evidence here. There's nothing credible. 20 binders, which they could release to us. And if you've been paying attention, if not, go back to the beginning of the broadcast, because President Trump even said, we're not going to give you those numbers. There's some stuff that we don't want to release to you. He's saying you need to change this. Okay, well, we've been waiting for these names and numbers, said Brad Roethlisberger. We'd like to see these. You're saying that there's fraud. We would like to see these so that we can investigate it. And President Trump says, yeah, no, you don't need to see those. I wish you could see them, but you don't need to see it. It's just fundraising.
But I will take on anybody you want.
Again, this is the lady that's being accused, the African-American lady and her daughter that are being accused of rigging the election when they were just doing their job.
And the minimum, there were 18,000 ballots, but they used them 3 times. So that's, a lot of votes. And that one event, and they were all to Biden, by the way. That's the other thing we didn't say.
No.
One thing I forgot to say, which was the most important. Do you know that every single ballot she did went...
He did say that, by the way. He didn't forget to say it.
...to Biden. You know that, right? Do you know that, by the way, Brett? Every single ballot that she did through the machine at early in the morning went to Biden.
That's absolutely untrue. There's no way anyone would know that.
Did you know that, Ryan?
That's not accurate, Mr. President.
Huh. What is accurate?
The numbers that
Not that.
we are showing are accurate.
About early in the morning, Ryan, when the woman took when the whole gang took the stuff from under the table, right? Do you know do you know who those ballots? Do you know who they were made out to? Do you know who they were voting for?
No, not specifically.
Did you ever check?
We did what I described to you earlier.
No. Did you ever check the ballots that were scammed by a known political operative balloteer? Did you ever check who those votes were for?
We've looked into that situation that you described.
No, they were 100% for Biden. 100%. There wasn't a Trump vote in the whole group. Why don't you want to find this, Ryan? What's wrong with you? I heard your lawyer is very...
The number... Now he's accusing Ryan of not wanting to find election fraud. By the way, that's his job. That's what Ryan does all day long, every day. The balloteers. There were two balloteers, African-American woman and her daughter. So those are your balloteers there, folks. All of which has been investigated. And the numbers coming out of Fulton County, Trump did get votes in Fulton County. What he's saying about 100% of these ballots being scanned, A, there would be no way, absolutely no way to trace that. B, that's simply not what the numbers are.
Difficult, actually, but I'm sure you're a good lawyer. You have a nice last name. But I'm just curious, why do you keep fighting this thing? It just doesn't make sense. We're way over the 17th.
Thank you for checking on that. Someone just checked on that, and I just lost it on my screen. Sean, attorney Cleta Mitchell apparently is the Cleta that Trump was talking to. I can't verify that independently, but that's what Sean says, and so let's go with that.
1,779, right? We're way over that number, and just if you took we're over that number by 5.
If you're just joining us, it's not me making that sound. It's the Washington Post editing Trump's use of a woman's name who he is trying to implicate in voter fraud when it's been investigated and she's clean.
5 or 6 times. When you multiply it out times 3.
Thank you, Sean.
And every single ballot went to Biden. And you didn't know that, but now you know it. So tell me, Brad, what are we going to do? We won the election, and it's not fair to take it away from us like this. And it's going to be very costly in many ways. And I think you have to say that you're going to re-examine it, and you can re-examine it, but re-examine it with people that want to find answers, not people that don't want to find answers. For instance, I'm hearing Ryan, and he's probably, I'm sure, a great lawyer and everything, but he's making statements about those ballots that he doesn't know. But he's making them with he did make them with surety, but now I think he's less sure, because the answer is they all went to Biden.
He's on the line. We can ask him.
And that alone wins us the election by a lot. You know. So.
Mr. President, you have people that submit information, and we have our people that submit information, and then it comes before the court, and the court then has to make a determination. We have to stand by our numbers. We believe our numbers are right.
Why do you say that, though? I don't know. I mean, sure, we can play this game with the courts, but why do you say that? First of all, they don't even assign us a judge. They don't even assign us a judge. But why wouldn't you, hey, Brad, why wouldn't you want to check out, and why wouldn't you want to say, hey, if in fact President Trump is right about that, then he wins the state of Georgia, just that one incident alone, without going through hundreds of thousands of drop ballots. You just say you stick by, I mean, I've been watching you for, you don't care about anything. Your numbers are right. But your numbers aren't right. They're really wrong. And they're really wrong, Brad. And I know this phone call's going nowhere other than ultimately, you know, look, ultimately I win, okay?
Because
you don't.
Mr. Secretary, Mr.
You guys
President,
are so wrong, and you've treated the population of Georgia so badly. Between you and your governor, who was down at 21, he was down 21 points, and like a schmuck, I endorsed him and he got elected. But I will tell you, he's a disaster, and he'll never. I can't imagine. The people are so angry in Georgia. I can't imagine he's ever getting elected again. I'll tell you that much right now. But why wouldn't you want to find the right answer, Brad, instead of keep saying that the numbers are right? Because those numbers are so wrong.
Mr. Secretary, Mr. President, I mean, one of the things that we have been, Alex can talk about this, we've talked about it, and I don't know whether the information has been conveyed to your office, but I think what the President's saying and what we've been trying to do is to say, look, the court is not acting on our petition. They haven't even assigned a judge. But the people of Georgia and the people of America have a right to know the answers. And you have data and records that we don't have access to. And you keep telling us and making public statements that you've investigated this and, you know, nothing to see here. But we don't know about that. All we know is what you tell us. What I don't understand is why it wouldn't be in everyone's best interest to try to get to the bottom, compare the numbers. You know, if you say, but to try to be able to get to the truth, and that because we don't have any way of confirming what you're telling us. You tell us that you've had an investigation of the State Farm Arena. I don't have any report. I've never seen a report of investigation. I don't know what that is. I've been pretty involved in this. I don't know. And that's just one of like 25 categories. And it doesn't even, and as the President said, we haven't even gotten into the Dominion issue. That's not part of our case. It's not part of, we just didn't feel as though we had any way to be able to develop.
No, we do have a way, but I don't want to get into it because we found a way in other states, Slater, excuse me, but we don't need it because we're only down 11,000 votes, so we don't even need it.
Right.
I personally think they're corrupt as hell, but we don't need that because all we have to do, Slater, is find 11,000 plus votes.
Okay, so this is Cleta. This appears to be Trump's lawyer in Georgia.
So we don't need that. I'm not looking to shake up the whole world. We won Georgia easily. We won it by hundreds of thousands of votes. But if you go by basic, simple numbers, we won it easily. So we're not giving Dominion a pass on the record. I will say that.
Right, exactly.
But we just don't, we don't need Dominion because we have so many other votes that we don't need to prove it any more than we already have.
Mr. President, Cleta, this is Kurt Hilbert, if I might interject here for a moment. Ryan, I would like to suggest that just 4 categories that have already been mentioned by the President that have actually hard numbers of 24,149 votes that were counted illegally. That in and of itself is sufficient to change the result or place the outcome in doubt. We would like to just sit down with your office, and we can do it through purposes of compromise and settlement just like this phone call, just to deal with that limited category of votes. And if you are able to establish that our numbers are not accurate, then fine. However, we believe that they are accurate. We've had now 3 to 4 separate experts look at these numbers. These numbers are based upon the USPS.
And certified accountants looked at them.
Correct. And this is just based on USPS data and your own Secretary of State data. So that's what we would entreat and ask you to do, to sit down with us in a compromise and settlement proceeding and actually go through the registered voter IDs and the registrations. And if you can convince us that 24,149 is inaccurate, then fine. But we tend to believe that is, obviously more than 11,779. That's sufficient to change the result entirely in and of itself. So what would you say to that, Mr. Germany?
Kurt, I'm happy to. I'll get with our lawyers and we'll set that up. That number is not accurate, and I think we can show you for all the ones we've looked at why it's not. And so if that would be helpful, I'm happy to get with our lawyers and set that up with you guys.
Well, let me ask you, Kurt. Kurt, you think that is an accurate number? That was based on the information given to you by the Secretary of State's Department, right?
That is correct. That information is the minimum, most conservative data based upon the USPS data and the Secretary of State's office data that has been made publicly available. We do not have the internal numbers from the Secretary of State, yet we have asked for it 6 times. I've sent a letter over to Mr. Anulowicz several times requesting this information, and it's been rebuffed every single time. So it stands to reason that if the information is not forthcoming, there's something to hide. That's the problem that we have.
Well, that's not the case. There are things that you guys are entitled to get, and there's things that under law we are not allowed to give out.
Well, you have to. Well, under law, you're not allowed to give faulty election results, okay? You're not allowed to do that, and that's what you've done. This is a faulty election result. And honestly...
Trump believes that a certified accountant can certify things. That's what he thinks certified accountants do. So he's saying that the numbers that they have are certified.
This should go very fast. You should meet tomorrow because you have a big election coming up, and because of what you've done to the president, you know, the people of Georgia know that this was a scam. And because of what you've done to the president, a lot of people aren't going out to vote. And a lot of Republicans are going to vote negative because they hate what you did to the president.
I don't know how you can vote negative. Does anybody, is that a thing? Does anybody live in a state where you can just go into the ballot box and fill out negative? I should say Booth. Go ahead and fact check me.
Okay, they hate it. And they're going to vote. And if you would be respected, if this thing could be straightened out before the election. You have a big election coming up on Tuesday.
What? We do? Oh, my God.
Therefore, I think that it really is important that you meet tomorrow and work out on these numbers. Because I know, Brad, that if you...
I don't know what working out on numbers means. I know what working out the numbers means, but working out on the number, how can anyone listen to him without correcting his English?
I think we're right. I think you're going to say, and I'm not looking to blame anybody. I'm just saying that,
now he's their best friend. He just accused them of wanting to rig the election, but now he's their best friend. I'm not saying anybody's rigging the election, but you guys are rigging the election.
Under new counts and under new views of the election results, we won the election. It's all, it's very simple. We won the election. As the governor of major states and the surrounding states said, there is no way you lost Georgia. As the Georgia politicians say, there is no way you lost Georgia. Nobody, everyone knows I won it by hundreds of thousands of votes. But I'll tell you, it's going to have a big impact on Tuesday if you guys don't get this thing straightened out fast.
Well, Mr. President, this is Mark.
Sorry.
Let me just, it sounds like we've got two different...
Hold on. I want to say what he said was going to happen on Tuesday. I missed it.
But everyone knows I won it by hundreds of thousands of votes. But I'll tell you, it's going to have a big impact on Tuesday if you guys don't get this thing straightened out fast.
Oh, it's going to have a big impact on Tuesday. Okay, didn't really say anything there.
Well, Mr. President, this is Mark. Let me just, it sounds like we've got...
Mark Meadows, Chief of Staff of the White House, so he works for Trump.
Two different sides agreeing that we can look at those areas, and I assume that we can do that within the next 24 to 48 hours to go ahead and get that reconciled so that we can look at the two claims and making sure that we get the access to the Secretary of State's data to either validate or invalidate the claims that have been made. Is that correct?
So that's not what I said. I'm happy to sit down with, or have our lawyers sit down with Kurt and the lawyers on that side and explain to him, hey, here's, based on what we've looked at so far, here's how we know this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong.
So what you're saying, Ryan? Hold on, let me make sure. So what you're saying is you really don't want to give access to the data. You just want to make another case on why the lawsuit is wrong.
I don't think we can give access to data that's protected by law. But we can sit down with them and say,
but
hey,
you're allowed to have a phony
individual
election? You're allowed to have a phony election, right?
No, sir.
When are you going to do the signature counts on? When are you going to do signature verification on Fulton County, which you said you were going to do, and now all of a sudden you're not doing it? When are you doing that?
We are going to do that. We've announced.
To get to this issue of the personal information and privacy issue, is it possible that the Secretary of State could deputize the lawyers for the president so that we could access that information, that private information, without you having any kind of violation?
Well, I don't want to know who it is. You guys can do it very confidentially. You can sign a confidentiality agreement. That's okay. I don't need to know names.
All right,
but we got the information on this stuff that we're talking about. We got all that information from the Secretary of State.
Yeah, so let me recommend, Ryan, if you and Kurt will get together, when we get off of this phone call, if you could get together and work out a plan to address some of what we've got with your attorneys, where we can actually look at the data. For example, Mr. Secretary, I can tell you, you said there was only 2 dead people that would vote. I can promise you there are more than that, and that may be what your investigation shows, but I can promise you there are.
Okay, well, as long as Mark Meadows promises that there were more dead people voting, then yeah, I guess we'll just flip the election. I mean, there could be double the number. That's 4 people.
More than that, but at the same time, I think it's important that we go ahead and move expeditiously to try to do this and resolve it as quickly as we possibly can. And if that's the good next step, hopefully we can finish this phone call and go ahead and agree that the 2 of you will get together immediately.
Well, why don't my lawyers show you where you got the information? It'll show the Secretary of State, and you don't.
Why don't my lawyers show you where you got the information? The hell? This is the guy who wrote The Art of the Deal.
We don't even have to look at any names. We don't want names. We don't care. But
that's what signature verification is.
But we got that information from you. And Stacey Abrams is laughing about, she's going around saying these guys are dumber than a rock. What she's done to this party is unbelievable, I tell you.
If I'm Brad Raffensperger, I don't care if Stacey Abrams is laughing. The reason Trump uses that argument is because he is incredibly insecure. And he thinks other people are going to respond to that. If someone came to me and said, look, Mark Meadows saw your broadcast, and he thinks he was laughing at you. Right now, Mark Meadows and Kayleigh Macaroni are laughing at you, Kevin. I'd be like, okay. Have at it. Rock on, Kennedy. Trump, if someone was laughing at Trump, oh my God. He's 7 years old emotionally. So he's using that argument to Brad Roethlisberger, who's a grown man with a grown man's maturity level. Who, by the way, voted for him twice. It's insanity.
And I only ran against her once, and that was with a...
It's Raffensperger. That's his name. I'm not calling him Roethlisberger, am I? If I do, I apologize. I'm sitting here laughing at him.
A guy named Brian Kemp, and I beat her. And if I didn't run, Brian wouldn't have had even a shot, either in the general or in the primary. He was dead as a doornail. He never thought he had a shot at either one of them. What a schmuck I was. But that's the way it is. That's the way it is. I would like you to, for the attorneys on my side, I'd like you to perhaps meet with Ryan, ideally tomorrow, because I think we should come to a resolution of this before the election. Otherwise, you're going to have people just not voting.
There's been a resolution to this. The vote has been certified. The electors have been appointed. No new electors can be appointed by law.
They don't want to vote. They hate the state. They hate the governor, and they hate the Secretary of State. I will tell you that right now. And the only people that like you are people that will never vote for you. You know that, Brad, right?
Wow.
They like you. They like you. They can't believe what they found. They want more people like you. So
this is so Mean Girls.
Look, can you get together tomorrow? And Brad, we just want the truth. It's simple. And everyone's going to look very good if the truth comes out. It's okay. It'll take a little while, but let the truth come out. And the real truth is I won by 400,000 votes, at least.
Oh.
That's the real truth. But we don't need 400,000 votes. We need less than 2,000 votes. And are you guys able to meet tomorrow, Ryan?
I don't know why Ryan Germany or Brad Raffensperger at that point says, no, sir, that's just not reality. You lost Georgia. We have certified it. There's nothing that can change that. Wow.
I'll get with Chris, the lawyer who's representing us in the case, and see when he can get together with Kurt.
All right.
Ryan will be in touch with the other attorney on this call, Mr. Meadows. Thank you, President Trump, for your time.
Okay, thank you, Brad. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Now he's thanking everybody. The people that he was, no one's going to vote for you. They're all laughing at you. The only people who are going to vote for you are Satanists. And now he's like, oh, thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. You know what? I'm very charming. I'm very disarming. And when I disarm people, they vote for me. Not like Nancy Pelosi. She wants to disarm everybody. She will surge your Second Amendment. God, this man's an idiot. I said that we would watch after this the video of the television station that the Secretary of State's office cooperated with, and watch that video at the State Farm. Was it State Farm Arena, or is it? No, it's not the State Farm Arena. What is this? State Brothers State at the arena in Fulton County in Atlanta, where all of the shenanigans that are on tape happened. So I'll pull that up for you. Give me a second here. I'm going to get rid of that window. So for a second here, the Twitter chat is going to go away. In fact, it's gone. Sorry, guys, but you can still see each other on Twitter or Periscope if that's where you are. YouTube chat is over there. State Farm. It is State Farm? Okay, thank you. There's been, God, so many Stater Brothers. It's the Piggly Wiggly Arena. That's probably a place, and there's probably a rodeo there. Let me pull up that for you. Here is a fact check done by WSBT-TV News. I'll bring it over so you guys can see it here. This is to what the Secretary of State was referring. Let's go forward here, and it gets interesting here. This is
not expected to change, but legal challenges are still underway, including one involving that video right there from State Farm Arena. President Trump's lawyer, other supporters too, call it the smoking gun, proving election fraud. Channel 2 investigative reporter Justin Gray spent the day with Georgia elections officials, as we saw in that video. And Justin, we saw it. You went frame by frame to uncover and then really show everyone what happened.
Yeah, George, we spent a lot of time today with the state's lead investigator. We looked at that video for hours, going through it very carefully, looking not just at that short clip that Rudy Giuliani shared, but also the critical hours before it and after it, going through the chain of custody for those ballots in question the entire time.
You went through hours.
Yes. We went frame by frame with state election investigators. They've already spent hours analyzing this video, looking at the election night surveillance tape that President Trump's personal attorney Rudy Giuliani calls a smoking gun. Quote, suitcases pulled from under a table.
We can show exactly when they were placed under there.
So these were not mystery ballots that came from a mystery location?
No.
They were right there in the room?
Yes.
People watched them placed in those boxes?
Yes.
This is the short section of the video the Trump team has shared. It's not suitcases being pulled from under that table, but official sealed ballot containers. If we go back in the video to hours before, you can see that table being brought into the room at 8:22 a.m. Nothing underneath, no hidden suitcases. Then we can see at 10 p.m. with the room full of people, including official monitors and the media, as ballots that have been opened but not counted are placed in the boxes, sealed up and stored under the table.
Right, they thought they were done. So you put the ballots in the suitcases, the ballot containers, and you seal them up and you get them out of the way. That's all that was happening.
The reason? Employees thought they were done for the night.
They were planning on going home.
Yes. As you can tell by the fact that they're sealing everything up and preparing to leave.
Here's where there was confusion. Media and observers left as employees packed up. But this phone call changed that. Fulton's election director called the supervisor here to say, keep working, keep counting. After the Secretary of State's office called him to say you shouldn't stop this early. That's when employees pulled these containers of ballots back out, the so-called smoking gun video, and went back to work. These are the same ballots official monitors watched them put away.
No magical appearing ballots. These were ballots that were processed in front of the monitors, put in the boxes in front of the monitors, and placed there in front of the monitors.
So what about that gap? Well, this is what happened during the roughly an hour before an official state observer returned. Employees scanned ballots.
Yeah, these are just typical everyday election workers who were just doing their jobs. I mean, it's not like this is an Ocean's 11 level scheme that was put together in the middle of the night.
Now, there was about an hour there before the state monitor, the state official monitor got back. But if you watch that video, you see what they're doing. They're scanning those ballots. The state election lead investigator looked at all that video, hours of it, says she sees no evidence whatsoever of any wrongdoing. Reporting live at the state capitol, Justin Gray, Channel 2 Action News.
So the state official, the lead investigator for the state, watched the entire video, saw no evidence of fraud. There you go. I don't know what else to tell you, Trump. That phone call is just pathetic. That is just, we have a leader for this country who is a pathetic human being, and thank God he's done. We'll talk about it more later. He can't win. Everything that happens on January 6th, it's irrelevant. It's done. Alay Ektaja, the die is cast. Biden is your next president. Just ridiculous. Just pathetic. Just pathetic. That's all I can say. He's a loser, and he's pathetic. So thank you very much for joining me on this. This was the last minute, kind of like I wanted to share that with you guys. So I've got a bunch of other stuff I was planning to do right now, including a Seahawks game. So I'm going to sign off. We'll be covering the rally tomorrow. And then we will cover the election on Tuesday. And then, of course, on the 6th, the big day when nothing is going to change, we'll be covering that again as well. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining me. If you appreciated this, I would appreciate it if you'd send some Super Chat, or even better, PayPal me some cash or some Venmo. I'm not working right now. And if you'd like to support me on an ongoing basis, I would appreciate that. Like all of the good people that you see over there, almost all of them are patrons. And to become a patron on Patreon, just go to kevinleefather.com. That's kevinleefather.com, and you can support us there. Thank you very much for watching, and when you do support me on Patreon, eventually you get your name in the credits. Oh, hold on. I'm supposed to... Producer Joanne always says take off my glasses in the call to action, so I can look at you right in the eye. Go to kevinleefather.com and support me there. $1, $5, become a protester for $10 a month, a resistor for $20. I don't know if these numbers are accurate. But, you know, we're talking about Trump, so numbers don't have to be accurate anymore. Here, let me take these off, too. Help me, for the love of Kevin. So you can go to Patreon, kevinleefather.com. I'd really appreciate it. And someday, you might get your name in these credits.
Kevin, thanks for that.